I'm wrestling. You're not weak for me. Celebrate what I am. Celebrate what I have been. Celebrate what I represent. And celebrate the many ways I have impacted your life. I will survive this test as I have survived others. I am forever etched into the very fiber of all mankind. The world needs me. Time is on my side. History guarantees me. I am wrestling. Do not wait for me.
What's up, everybody? This is Ben Askren, and you are listening to the T-Row and Funky Show, episode number 34. Brought to you, as always, by Defense Soap. Defend what you have built. Tommy, I know you're at a wrestling camp right now, and then we're going to talk about that a little later. Where are you at right now?
I am at the Ohio State father-son wrestling camp. My 6-year-old boy and I are sitting in the dorms here, so I'm reporting on site and topics related to wrestling. So it's kind of exciting.
That's cute. I was actually thinking about father-son camps. Usually, it's obviously dads who probably don't have a lot of experience wrestling. But I was teaching the father-son camp, which we have a lot of camps up here. We don't do a father-son camp, but if I was teaching one and you were a guy in it, I think that'd be a little intimidating because obviously you have a wealth of knowledge, and you might just step in and say, "Hey, whoa! I don't think that's how it's done."
It's funny because Jaggers was the clinician last night, and Ross Vetro was this morning. I think Tom Ryan's later today, but I think you know this about me, Ben, but I came here for every reason that has nothing to do with the technical instruction. So
sure,
I think
sure.
I think as you know, we both love wrestling. I want my kids, my sons, to be exposed to the sport, and I think this is just a great way to spend some quality time. I got too many kids. I got 4 kids at home, so to spend a weekend in a dorm room with my son and nobody else is a good quality time. So that's really the reason. But yeah, you're surrounded by the sport, which is great, and you get to be exposed to the sport and kind of have a wrestling weekend. So we're having fun with a bunch of other dads and little kids, and we'll probably talk about it later. But I know we got some other stuff we want to discuss.
Last question: does it make you miss sleeping in the dorms as a freshman at all?
Not even a little bit. I slept in a twin bed last night. I heard some house parties outside my window, like I was in college again, and I can't wait to go home in that regard.
That's funny. They actually tore down the dorm that I was a freshman in, so I don't ever get to see it anymore.
Really?
Yeah, Mizzou's, they made some significant upgrades since my time there, and one of those upgrades included tearing down the dorm I stayed in. So, no nostalgia for me. So we want to finish up recruiting, which we did that the last 2 episodes. That was fun. I know we've both got a lot of positive feedback from people about that. So that's fantastic. But one of the things we want to finish up is talking about just some recruiting trip stories, and that's kind of the fun part, probably the part I was most looking forward to. But before we hit that, because this is current news, and I don't think you and I have ever really talked about it in depth. These idiot fighters getting busted by USADA. John Jones blew up UFC 200. Now Brock Lesnar got busted. Obviously, there's been a whole slew of other fighters getting busted. What do you think about this? Because you have been tested by USADA.
I think it's a joke. I was tested by USADA for the better part of 8 years. If I were a betting man, I would say I've been tested at least over 150 times by USADA at my house, in events, at my training facilities, you name it, any other which way. Anybody that's been tested by USADA for that long of a time, you're fully familiar with the system. And I did this without an agent, without professional trainers and things like that. I mean, I'm just some guy filling out my, quarterly whereabouts filings and things like that to make sure they know where I am and all that type of stuff. And it wasn't hard to pass 150 drug tests.
Sure.
It wasn't hard at all.
It's not hard to pass them because you're not using also.
Right.
That makes it easier.
Right.
So let me ask you this question. Do you think if you're Dana White now, and now it's not the Fertitas, now the brand new owners of the organization, who's a
WME IMG.
WME IMG. Do you think you're having a panic attack right now? I mean, John Jones, legitimately one of the biggest stars in the sport. Brock Lesnar, who's kind of not even really an athlete, but now is, and is obviously a huge draw. Chad Mendez got popped. Yoel Romero got popped. So there have been a lot of people testing positive lately. I wish maybe I can Google it and bring up the list. Are you having a panic attack right now? Is that what you're doing if you're the owner of the organization?
Well, I would say probably not in the business sense. I don't think, and I could be wrong, but I don't think there is any correlation between lost revenue in baseball when they had, the steroid era and they tried to clean the sport up and still are. I just don't see the connection between these guys testing positive and lost revenue. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to say, and I obviously I studied the business of mixed martial arts a little bit because it is something I'm part of. And I want to tell you that, 2015 is a perfect example. 2014 was a bad year. MMA and UFC is star-driven. So they had a great 2015 because Ronda did huge numbers and Conor did huge numbers. And that was a huge change in 2014. So, Brock Lesnar obviously is a pay-per-view draw. John Jones is arguably a pay-per-view draw. But if you start taking away some of these names, I don't know. I feel like it makes it harder for organizations. So I guess I do think it might have I understand what you're saying about baseball. I get that for sure, but I think it might have a little more of an effect.
Well, I guess that's my immediate instinct is that there won't be much lost revenue, but there's a difference between losing business and not being able to grow your business because of if there's a black cloud over the sport, you're not going to be in too good of a bargaining or a negotiating position with Fox News. You're not going to be in a unique position to strategically partner with corporate sponsors. You're not going to be, there's so many other levels of severity to the black cloud that seems to be looming over the UFC with performance-enhancing drugs that I think it is limiting. It's definitely not good. I just don't know if you're going to lose pay-per-view buys.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense.
No, it does for sure. So I think that the UFC brought in USADA to test him because it definitely adds legitimacy and what was seen as a dirty sport, mixed martial arts, because there are a lot of people who use. Obviously, now they're all failing tests because they're not just doing post-fight tests, but I think the UFC brought USADA in to add legitimacy and to make it seem more mainstream. And I think the UFC was banking on fighters saying, "Hey, I'm not going to risk losing 2 years of my career by failing this test. I'm going to get off everything that I'm using." But now what we're seeing is that's just not the case. They're still using. They think they can beat the test.
Do you think they'll continue to do that, or do you think that the fighters that are using? Do you think that the fighters that are using are starting to realize, man, this USADA is a reputable outfit, and they catch everything that you shouldn't be doing. So I've got to get off my stuff.
Yeah, you would think, and that's what. Listen, okay, if I'm in the UFC and I'm using PEDs, right, and USADA comes in, the first thing I'm going to do as a reasonable person is I'm probably going to call some of my wrestling buddies who've been tested by USADA and say, how thorough are they? Can I get away with this?
Right.
And someone like you is going to say, no, how? It's random testing. They can show up literally any time, as many times as they want. That they can do that.
The other thing, Ben, is like once a year you have to take a multiple choice test on USADA and pass it to be an eligible athlete within their program so that you are basically verifying and validating to USADA that you know what the rules are. You know how you can get tested.
I believe that is an open book test, right?
It's open book, but it's still a process. I'm not saying that it's still a process. It's still a regimented, verified example of having to know what you need to do to pass the tests. And you know that 2 or 3 missed tests equals a positive test.
Yep.
You know that there are banned substances that you can use if you fill out a therapeutic use exemption form aka a TUE form, ahead of time, they can grant you permission to use perhaps an amphetamine to overcome an illness or an anti-inflammatory that has banned substances in it. So when you become tested by USADA long enough and hard enough, you start to realize, in my opinion, they're extremely fair, that they are very communicative with how you can go about doing things that perhaps walk the line, but also are therapeutic reasons to help you heal or get better. And I just think they're a completely reputable organization. When someone tests positive with USADA, I mean, I would say that there's a 1 in 1,000 chance that USADA's wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe even higher. And if it comes out that Jones or Lesnar were taking substances that could pass for medicinal purposes, and they
already came out with the substance Jones was using. Jones was using estrogen blockers, which I guess in my limited understanding of this world is that helps restart testosterone production after they use a cycle of steroids.
Okay.
So that's what I got from it. I don't know. So he's guilty. I mean, that's kind of a fact, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's so many things that all of the valid but far-fetched reasons why you could test positive for USADA. USADA has an outlet for you to communicate with them so that it doesn't equal a positive test. So basically anything you get hit for at USADA, you should have known better. And these guys are professional athletes. In the case of John Jones and Brock Lesnar, they're millionaires. They have agents. They have trainers. Their inner circle of people should know what's being ingested in their body. They should know, hey, Brock, if you're taking 16 different supplements, why don't we hire a trainer for $3,000 to read all of the bottles and make sure that you're okay. And so I think it should be on paper less likely for these guys to get hit than an amateur Olympic hopeful who makes $25,000 a year and doesn't have the resources to insulate these types of things from occurring. So to me, it's just plain as day ridiculous.
Ridiculous. So listen, I'm going to tell you what. I asked you what you would do if you were...
Hey, by the way, Ben, I am going to munch on some Cheetos throughout this episode. And the reason I'm going to do it is because we're in episode 34. I've never had something to eat on an episode.
Never?
I think you have and I think you have 7 or 8 times. So I'm just taking a little bit of a pass.
There's no way you counted that many times. Okay, well, while you munch on some Cheetos, I'll tell you what I would do if I owned the UFC right now if I was Dana White.
All right.
And then we'll get back onto some wrestling topics. Listen, Tommy, I'm calling all hands on deck, mandatory meeting. Everyone's getting their butt to Vegas, ASAP, right?
Right.
Because we just lost Brock for 2 years and we lost John Jones for 2 years, and this shit's got to stop somewhere. So I'm calling all hands on deck meeting, and I'm going to say, listen, you idiots, this is USADA. They're not messing around. Don't you guys get it? You're not going to pass their test. Do you really want to miss 2 years of career? Are you really willing to risk that? And then, and hopefully, for the ones that are halfway intelligent, that gets through to them, because 2 years is a long time and a lot of missed revenue. Some guys are fighting 6 times in that time period. Even guys who are kind of slower are probably fighting 4 times. When you're a fighter who relies on only getting a paycheck for fighting and you miss 6 fights, 6 paychecks, that's a big freaking deal.
I got a question for you, Ben.
Sure.
Not a question, kind of a question and a statement. I think it's, even though UFC's got some things they got to work on to clean up the sport, I think it's pretty genuine that they want the sport cleaned up when they hire the biggest, baddest testing beast in the world, which is USADA, because they could have done a lot of other measures that would allow them to control or collude the process so that these things don't happen to their sport. But when you hire USADA, I mean, don't you think it's a genuine statement that says we do in fact want to clean this up?
No, that's exactly what it says. That's 100%. Right. I think I said they wanted to be viewed as a more legitimate organization. I think a lot of people viewed UFC as dirty. I mean, but
Do you
prior
think-
to USADA, they did cover up tests. I mean, there was a test that Vitor Belfort failed right prior to his John Jones fight when they bumped Belfort up to face Jones. He failed the test. It was like failed bad on testosterone ratio or whatever the hell it was. I mean, it was really
Question for you.
what?
If you were a betting man, and when did they institute USADA? Was it a year ago?
Hold on. I'm getting the answer right here. Reddit. I got a Reddit of all UFC fighters banned by USADA. Wow, it's about 20 of them. Okay, all the Meldoniums allegedly are under debate right now. So there's 3 of those. Then you got Brock Lesnar. John Jones is up to 4 years. Oh, because it's his second offense. Good God. That obviously hasn't been settled yet. Ricardo Abreu, Chad Mendez, Lyoto Machida, Frank Mir. I mean, these are big names, right? Andrade, Oliveira, Gleason Tebow, Mirko Crocop, Yoel Romero.
How long have they been doing USADA?
It looks like about 9 months is from what I'm seeing here.
That is so much in 9 months. So much. I mean, that's like saying this. Yeah, you got Kyle Snyder, Frank Molinaro,
Could you imagine?
Kellen Russell, Andrew Howe, Dom Bradley, Kyle Dake. I mean, that's literally what those names are like.
I know. Could you imagine that? I was thinking, Tommy, in the last 10 years, because actually we talked about this on my MMA podcast that I have. Joe Warren was talking about his issue because he got the marijuana thing he got flagged for, which he was only supposed to be out of competition and blah, blah, blah. But besides Joe, I could only think of one person who'd been busted by USADA in wrestling in the last 10 years, and that was Obi Blanc. And if I remember right, and I don't 100% remember, I think it was like a clerical issue. Right?
Yeah.
So,
something like that,
It was something like that. It wasn't like he was using testosterone replacement.
Which guy are you talking about?
Obi Blanc was, I think, the only one that I can remember. And like I said, but
Yeah,
I can't
he
think of
did
any
not-
other wrestler.
Clerical, I don't think he filled out a therapeutic use.
That's what it was, I
form
believe, yes.
For, I believe, an amphetamine.
Yeah, I think
I'm not
that's
sure.
what it was.
And I think the same thing happened to Mike Zadek.
Okay, I don't remember
but
that
this is
one.
like-
That might have been a long time ago.
But here's the thing. This is over the past 10 years of 50 to 60 athletes that are tested per year. No, not even. Over 100 American wrestlers are probably tested by USADA every year. Over the past 10 years, I mean, we got like 2 examples, and they're not like meladonium or, you know what I mean? It's like,
for sure.
So anyways, there's clearly an issue here. My question, though, is that if they've only been doing this for 9 months, give or take, and they just sold their property for billions of dollars, do you think that Lorenzo and Dana and maybe some trusted advisors said, hey, if we really want to get this sold and we want to make it a promotable asset that can grow long term, we've got to institute something so we can get it sold? Do you think that that's part of it? Maybe
that was 100% of it. I think that was 100% of it. I mean, I know I heard from people on the inside that there was a lot of mainstream sponsors who were scared to put their name on it because they viewed it as a dirty sport, and I heard that for sure.
This stuff is wild, man.
Contamination.
This stuff is wild.
I'm trying to read about Obi Blanc. It doesn't say what he failed for, but anyways, okay. So let's move on to wrestling because it's an interesting topic to talk about, especially because you and I were both tested by USADA, so we both understand that program and what it's all about. And man, these fighters, they just can't figure. They got to figure it out sometime. They can't be this stupid.
Yeah. It's really not hard. Just here's what it is. It's not hard. Just eat food.
There you go.
Eat food and drink water, man, and you'll be fine. Trust me.
It's that freaking simple. Well,
what do you think? Hey, we should start a consulting firm for these UFC guys.
They
talking about it, like
$100 an hour. Eat food, drink water.
Here's the speech, guys. Eat food and drink water.
I like it. You know what? I mean, people ask me, Tommy, I don't really even take like a protein supplement anymore. Throughout my career, on and off, I tried different supplements at suggestions of coaches, and I tell you, I could never feel a noticeable difference.
Same here.
I really couldn't.
I did creatine when I was in high school.
Okay.
And I think that probably helped me, but it's hard to even say because I was also in the middle of puberty, and
Yeah.
you're growing and getting stronger anyway. It's like a built-in creatine, or built-in performance. Puberty is a performance-enhancing drug. You know what I mean?
That's Tommy. That's gonna be a slogan on a Rudis t-shirt. Puberty is a PED.
It really is, though.
That's great. Puberty is a PED. I'm tweeting that right now.
I can't even really speak to creatine because I was taking it while I was in puberty, but I do remember getting stronger faster.
Sure.
In a quick period of time, I was lifting hard and growing fast. But yeah, I did all the protein shakes and the this and the that, the amino acids and blah 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 blah. I can't even keep track of it all. Everything that I've tried, and in fact, Ben, yes, I did not notice a difference for me. In fact, sometimes I felt a little bit sluggish and not myself when I was trying to take protein and institute it into my diet and training regimen.
Sure. Yeah.
I do like protein shakes, though. I feel like that
because they make you perform better.
Not perform better, recover better. I think that when I get through a hard to get through a hard training session, I almost felt anemic and just really frail.
Really?
And when just didn't feel right.
Exhausted.
When you pounded protein shake within 20 minutes after being done, it kind of felt like you got restored a little bit.
Yeah,
and,
I will say for on that end, being able to put something with some girth back in your stomach after a workout like you're talking about, because sometimes I feel like this. It's just hard to eat real food after you work out that hard. You just don't feel like it. It takes a while to get your appetite back. At least that's how I always felt.
We gotta send this sound bite that we've got past 3 minutes to some supplement company and get them to sponsor us.
I think they would withdraw immediately.
Exactly.
Well, you did say you like protein, but anyways, okay. Well, let's get on to the next topic.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to talk about, and Tommy, when I got this suggestion on Twitter many weeks ago, I was excited because, man, I have so many funny stories, and I like telling funny stories. So we're going to tell stories of the good, the bad, and the ugly from the recruiting world. I'm planning on telling some of my recruiting tip stories. I think you're planning to share some also, and then also just some stupid things that we saw happen when we were hosting recruits as college kids.
Right.
So you want to lead it off, or you want me to lead it off? You
lead it off, man. I can tell you're going to run with it because of what you say. I'll think of things and we'll build from there.
Okay. I'm just going to start out with the one that means the most, and that's because I went to the University of Missouri. So my first trip down there, I think I went in August, early September, somewhere of my senior year. And I remember, we went out to eat with the Coach Smith, and then my mom went back to the hotel, and I got to take my parents' minivan over to the wrestlers' houses, which was Mark Bader and a guy named Justin Spates, whose brother now, Jeremy's the head coach at SAUE. But so we went out doing our thing, and I remember Bader told me to, and Bader, who's now one of my best friends, probably lucky we got matched up on the recruiting trip because we got along so well. Told me to turn down this dirt road because it was fast. It was the fastest way to his house, right? And it was actually a road under construction. It wasn't legitimately a road, but it had rained the night before. So my mom's minivan literally was covered in mud from the wheels to the top of the damn thing. And we got home and I remember that, and Coach Smith told, I think he probably still tells this story, but he says, he went and picked my mom up at the hotel or whatever, and they came over to get us to go to lunch the next day. And he said he saw it and he almost had a heart attack because he thought when my mom saw that minivan, there was no way in hell I was going to the University of Missouri. But it just did so work out that I did go to the University of Missouri. So, but that started my recruiting trip off right. That was a lot of fun. I had a great time with those guys. So that really let it off, and that made it hard for everyone else to match that because I had a great vibe with the athletes, and I got along with the coaches. So for me, that was a real good trip to start it off.
Yeah, it's funny to hear. When you're 18 years old, it's just interesting how impressionable.
Oh yeah.
You can be and the things you can get into, and then the coach has to worry about, he has to watch the temperament of the parents, and he doesn't know that if your mom raised you, Ben, now that the public does know you, Brian Smith does know you, it's probably he probably had nothing to be concerned about with having a car get trashed with mud. You know what I mean?
No big deal. It's a funny story, right? So
absolutely,
yeah, and. So I had a good time there, and then I went to the University of Michigan, which you went on a visit there as well, right?
Sure did.
Okay.
Darn near went there.
And I will tell you, the one thing I got to go on the floor. I got to go on the floor, not the floor. What the hell is it called? The field. Thank you. The field at the Michigan football game, which is fantastic. And I got to wrestle with Otto Olson one day and Andy Rovat the next day, and that was so much fun because obviously Andy later became an Olympic teammate in 2008, which is what 7 years down the road or whatever. But my funny story there, Tommy, was I don't drink, so let's just canvas all these stories with I don't drink. I've never drank. I still don't drink. So all these stories were done in complete sobriety, and at
least with you.
Correct. Okay, that's true. Correct. At least with me, I just enjoy having a good time. So at Michigan, They took me to some frat party, and we were having a good time. And then
was Otto the DJ?
You know what? Now that you say that, he actually might have been, because I know he had that business right in college. He was a DJ. He was DJing at a party that I had on my visit to Michigan. Well, you're probably right. You're probably right that he probably was a DJ, and that was probably how we ended up there. But I remember they played. It was the night before a big football game. Definitely wasn't Ohio State. I can't remember who it was at this point. Maybe Michigan State or something to that effect. And there was a mud pit football game going on in the backyard. And I remember thinking, like, all right, I'm game. I went down there with a bunch of strangers and started scrapping in the mud pit. And
on your recruiting trip?
On my recruiting trip. So and I was the only recruit that went. So after.
By the way, I mean this is completely sober.
Sober, totally sober. I don't drink. So I ended up going back in the frat house looking for a shower, and there's like a group shower because it's a frat house, kind of, right? And then there was a lot of hot females showering. Unfortunately, they had their clothes on. The clothes were on. That's unfortunate. But then after I got a little more cleaned up, I realized that everybody had left me, Tommy, even my hosts. And it was raining, so I ended up walking back like 2 miles to my hotel. But
how does this happen to you when you're sober?
I don't know. It was like, hey, there's some people playing a mud pit football game. That looks like a good time. I probably said, who is? Let's see, it was Nate Moore, who ended up going to Purdue, and a kid named Aaron Keogh, I think, were on my recruiting side. I probably said, guys, let's go. And they were probably like, no. And I'm like, all right, F it. I'm going to do it myself.
Great.
So, yeah. So that was a good time.
I got a good story. I took 4 official visits. I went to Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. And on my visit to Oklahoma, well, there's 2 things that stick out on my visit to Oklahoma. The first one is not funny, but it's just pretty cool. And I think other programs do this, but I was so impressionable. Jack Spates picked me and my dad up at the airport and drove us to the hotel. And I got my room key, and Spates has taken us up to the room so that we can unpack our stuff and probably begin the visit. And when I opened my room, the entire varsity lineup was in my room.
What?
And they all walked up and said, hey, I'm Michael Leitner, I'm Rodney Jones, I'm Robbie Waller.
Wow.
All these guys. And it's like, man, as a 17-year-old kid, you walk into your hotel room and the whole varsity lineup's sitting in their hotel, and they walk up and shake your hand and introduce themselves. It's like that is such a cool recruiting tactic that's
got to be a recruiting violation. Is that a violation?
Well, it was in 1998 then, so if it is now, let's not go reverse fire Jack Spates.
Under what rule do you think is that a violation? I don't know, but there's got to.
I got no idea. Either way,
that's a cool story. It's a cool tactic.
Yeah, it was a tactic that I since implemented when I was at least when I was recruiting at Ohio State, we didn't do the whole varsity lineup, but I would get 3 or 4 studs to we would check the guy in his room. We'd get 3 or 4 studs to hang out in the room. The kid would walk in, he'd drop his bag, and he'd say, "Hey, I'm, Jay Jaggers. I'm Mike Pasillo. I'm J.D. Bergman. Thank you for coming to visit us. Looking forward to spending the weekend with you."
Oh,
and it was just
that's a nice
pretty
tactic,
cool. But
Tommy.
it is. But now with the cell phones and the Twitters and stuff like that, the best guys on the college team are still indirectly communicating with these guys, whether you want to admit it or not. And in 1998, not to date me, but there was no cell phones really.
Yeah, there wasn't.
The internet was not mainstream, so it's like,
I don't know. I would still say there's something about a face-to-face meeting that that means.
Yeah,
something.
it's very impressionable. But like even at that time, it was even more impressionable.
Yeah.
Like Michael Leitner was a guy I read about in amateur wrestling. He's not a guy that I followed on Twitter or he text messaged me because Jack Spade said we like this guy. You know what I mean? It was just some guy I never even. He was mythical almost, and he's in my hotel room shaking my hand. So that was cool. And then the funny one, it's kind of innocent, but really, really funny is Jack Spates had a barbecue at his house on my visit, and there was a volleyball court set up in the back, and they wanted me to play, so I played, and it was all the better guys on the team playing in a volleyball game. And Leitner was on the other team, and he had sunglasses on with his shirt off. I remember the picture clear as day. So he's got a pair of shorts on with sandals, T-shirts off, sunglasses on. He's looking all cool. And he had his head turned, and they told me to serve, and I served then, and it must have been it was like the greatest volleyball serve I've ever had. It was going 100 miles an hour, and it hit Leitner smack in the face, crushed his $5 sunglasses. The whole team was laughing at him because they thought it was a great, wonderful event. And I was like, oh my God, I just smashed Michael Leitner in the face with a volleyball.
Wow.
And anyways, I didn't end up going to Oklahoma, but that was
funny.
a really fun visit.
No, that's a good story. Hey, one more thing, and I'll add, you're a little bit of a baseball fan at least, right?
Yeah, enough.
Okay. One thing I remember, it's so weird how you remember certain things, right? And I remember saying, oh my God, this is going to be memorable. But I wasn't even watching this baseball game. I remember I was with Foley Dowd and Mike Kolzicki, I believe. And we were just walking down the street, right?
Right.
And I believe it was through a window. I'm not exactly recalling the scene. I'm recalling what happened. But it was that play versus, I think it was the New York Yankees versus the Oakland Athletics, where Derek Jeter, the throw from the outfield, came in and he cut it off and pitched it to the catcher, and they tagged the guy out, and it saved the game.
I remember that play.
Do you remember
I know
that play?
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
it's
one of the greatest defensive plays ever.
Yeah, and I remember stopping and saying, "Holy crap! Did that just happen?" Wow. And isn't that bizarre how you remember small things like that?
It is. It's amazing. So you remember where you were, who you were with. You probably remember the part of the street you were on.
Yeah, I was on the street, and there was a field, and it was really close to the stadium, and yeah, I remember where I was at. I don't know the name of the street. I haven't been back to Ann Arbor since 2001, I don't believe. So, yeah, that was interesting. So, but you know what the feel I got about Michigan was, and I don't know that everyone's getting this vibe right now. The vibe I got about Michigan, and you tell me if you got the same one. They were kind of, the whole athletic department kind of uppity and kind of like, well, we've done this before. You're kind of expected to win here, and. I don't know.
At that time, they were winning that often.
Yeah, and so, I like to think about Missouri was kind of like they were coming up. They were kind of this new thing, and I was going to go there, and in my mind, I was going to go there and do something that no one had been done before, which I ended up doing that. But something about the Michigan thing just kind of was like, it turned me off, and that's probably just how it was, and maybe I shouldn't have been turned off by that, but I was.
Well, I think that. I think you're correct, and that's how Michigan was at the time. But I also think you're correct in the sense that that's not a bad thing. It's not an indictment on Michigan's program. It's more just something that you didn't gel with.
Yeah.
But other people were like, "Yeah, I want to go to a machine that's winning every year. I want to be a part of. I want to be a part of the machine. I want to go to a school where they've been doing the dance and been to the dance and seen the strings, and I want to go to a place that's validated for success." And then there's people that are not turned on by that. They're turned on by, this is where we're going to go. We need you to go do this. We want you here so that we can accomplish this.
Yeah.
And it's never been done before. And it's more kind of entrepreneurial, if you will. And it's like you're on the frontier. And I was attracted to that. I can tell you were too. And some guys are not. Some guys are like, I want to go to places a little bit more established. You know what I mean?
For sure. Okay, let's keep rolling. You got one for me? I got a good one for you.
You go.
When I was at the University of Wisconsin, one of the athletes there, funny enough, I believe I ended up later fighting this guy in mixed martial arts. I'm pretty sure this is who it was. You know, it's been 15 years, but I believe my memory is serving me correctly. He stole a fake ID from me that I was able to use till I was 20 and 9 months. That's fantastic, right? I was only 17 at the time, so I got like almost 3.5 years of use out of this fake ID.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. So thank you for that. And funny enough, I got it stolen in Missouri. It was a Minnesota ID, and the idiot bouncer goes, "What's the capital of Minnesota?" And I said, "Minneapolis." And he said, "No, it's not." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is." And he's like, "Well, if you want your ID back, you can call the cops." I'm like, "Ugh, I hate you so much right now."
Wow.
I know, right?
Ben Askren used a fake ID, and he's never drank before. That's
well,
awesome.
I mean, you know, that's where everyone else was going, so I got to go, right?
Right.
I don't got to do everything they're doing, but
I hear you.
I'm not going to act like I didn't participate in any fun college activities. Let's see, what else do I got for you? Okay, you want to hear a funny story? This is not about me, and I'm not going to name names. That's a fair thing, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, here, this one cracked me up. So this kid, I sent out a bunch of texts to a bunch of old friends and everything, and said, give me your best recruiting story. And I appreciate this one. And I'm going to bring it up as a kind of a question to you after this. Since neither of us are college coaches, we can talk about this. So this guy that was hosting was tasked with, the recruit gets in trouble. And the coach said, keep this guy out of trouble. This guy's going to try to get in trouble.
I got a good one for this one.
Okay. This guy says, so you tell your story and then we'll discuss it. So this guy says, okay, so they go over low-key, they chill at this other wrestler's house, and he said they all go to sleep. Well, the recruits, after all the wrestlers fell asleep, the recruit sneaks out of the house, finds his own party, and gets arrested. and the coach says, you are never allowed to host an athlete again. And the guy was like, dude, I fell asleep. He was asleep. What do you want me to do? This guy's got issues. So,
all right.
Okay, go for it.
I got they have to remain nameless. One was when I was like a senior at Ohio State, so I wasn't quite a recruiting host, but I was involved at a lot of the dinners, and I was like the leader of the team.
Sure.
And we had a recruit in, and I was still on the team, but I kind of talked to the hosts as if I was a coach, and I said, listen, this kid is not a social butterfly, and although we don't want to hide the way that Ohio State is from him, please don't go out of your way to show him how fun it could be if you wanted your social life to be your top priority. So, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm saying, so just take it lightly. Obviously take him to a party or what have you, but don't stay out till 4. Perhaps go home at midnight before things get crazy, and I'll see you guys for breakfast or whatever. Well, I'm out with my friends that night.
And so you're a senior right now.
I'm a senior.
Okay, so you're on the team.
I'm out with my friends that night, and the recruit went out with the host, and I just told the hosts who were freshmen, like, hey, just kind of keep in mind this guy's not a crazy and wild man, and don't make it so. And I walk into a party with my friends, and it's the house is packed to the gills, and there's a pool table in the middle of the family room as you walk in the house, and there's at least 300 people packed in the house, music's blaring, and the recruit is standing on a pool table with the best looking girl in the whole house.
Yes.
And she's dancing with him, and his shirt is off and tied around his forehead. And when I walk in, he goes, Tommy, I'm going to Ohio State.
Yes.
Sure enough, he comes to breakfast the next morning. He should have had sunglasses on. I don't think he showered or brushed his teeth.
Oh, God.
His parents were not happy with him, and he ended up not going to
No,
Ohio
he didn't go? Oh, man. Okay, you reminded me of one. And the topic I want to discuss is how much do or do not coaches know what's going on the recruits trips, and how naive should they be? That's what I want to discuss.
Right.
One more story first. So this is at the University of Missouri. So I was hosting a party at my house for a bunch of the recruits, right? So everything's going fine, and all of a sudden, one of the guys on the team and this recruit show up, and this guy, the recruit is very shy, and it's so clear that this recruit is so ridiculously hammered, he doesn't know where he's at. And so I go to the other wrestler, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with him? Like, what's going on? He's like, this dude just grabbed this whole bottle of vodka and started chugging. And I'm like, why'd you let him? And he's like, because he's bigger than me. And I'm like, yeah, but you're on the team and he's a recruit. You don't let him do what he wants. And so,
Right.
Tommy, this kid's like, he's like bizarre. All of a sudden he starts wrestling bystanders at the party, like non-wrestlers, right?
Right.
And so
right.
I'm like, oh God. I'm like, this is not good. So
That is a wrestling meathead gone wrong. You know what I mean?
So I corral him into the basement. And my room was in the basement, so I corral him into the basement, thinking like, okay, this guy's got to chill out. He's got to sober up a little bit, and
right.
because I'm always the sober voice of reason on the team, and so all of a sudden he starts making these weird sounds, like he's speaking in tongues and shit, and just acting weird. I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, I gotta call the ambulance. I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen to this guy. This is not gonna be on my hands. I'm calling the ambulance, right? And so I think he was faking the whole time, because also I called 911. I think he thought I was playing, but I ain't messing with this. So I called 911. I'm like, hey, I need an ambulance. Here's my address, right? And all of a sudden, this dude starts acting sober, like nothing happened. And I'm like, dude, what's wrong with you? And the ambulance got there, and he started acting so sober. They didn't take him anywhere. And then he starts, after the ambulance people leave, the paramedics left, he started crying. He goes, my parents are going to get a letter in the mail for the bill. So I don't know whether his parents or they did or did not get that letter in the mail, but this kid, oh my goodness. just like, ruined my party, ruined my damn night, acting like an idiot. Wow.
I got another good one. I had this is when I was younger at Ohio State. I was probably a second year, redshirt freshman or redshirt sophomore at the oldest. And I was still on my, I hosted every weekend back in those days, my early college years. And we had a recruit in. He was a junior national champ, not from Ohio. That's all I'll say. But he was big-time recruit. And we wanted him really bad. But no, we didn't know him. And like nobody on the team knew him. The coaches, all they knew of him was their in-home visit. So there wasn't much of due diligence in terms of knowing who the person really truly is. And he comes in for the visit. It's I think either the Thursday night or Friday. It started off with dinner, and throughout the dinner, the dad and the kid are like so arrogant about what he's going to do for whatever program he wrestles for. So he's like saying, it doesn't matter what program I wrestle for, I'm going to win 4 national titles. Mind you, Ben, this is before Kale won 4.
Was this Kyle Dake?
No, it was not Kyle Dake. No, it wasn't Kale. And I'm going to win 4 national titles no matter where I go. I'll work harder than anybody on the team. Nobody works at the pace I work at back home. Like literally saying comments like this where it's like so bizarre because I'm just sitting here I'm a kid on the team. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this guy's a clown.
Yeah.
Like he's a clown. I already don't like him, right? So dinner ends and I'm like, I don't like this guy. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And I'm stuck with him. I gotta host him. I take him out. We get to a party. He's got a drink in his hand, and he's about halfway through his beer, and he's like, hey, does anybody got a cigarette?
No. Oh,
swear
man.
to God, and I'm just like, no, man, I don't have one.
Who smokes cigarettes still? Come on,
just
bro.
a clown. So, anyways, he started for the whole night. He was bumming cigarettes off of random people that were at the party, and so the next morning at breakfast, you know, I'm like a 19, 20-year-old guy. I tell our coaches, I'm like, listen, this guy's a clown. He did X, Y, and Z. I really don't want it repeated, but I'm done with him. I'll host him the rest of the weekend, but you guys don't want him on our team.
Dang.
And so the coaches, when the visit ended, they called the dad up and said, hey, your son doesn't fit with our team's culture, and he's no longer going to be recruited by us. It was a full ride offer. The offer's dropped. And didn't recruit him. So this guy, as you know, his credentials in high school were tremendous. He went to another school. That's not to say he would have went to Ohio State, but I think he would have. Went to another school, flamed out within 2 years, and never amounted to anything. Surprise, surprise.
Wow, that's funny. That reminds me of okay. One more. We got to discuss what you think of the coaches part of this.
Okay.
One more story though. So Coach Smith, I can tell all names in this one. This is not a big deal. So Coach Smith calls me and says, "Hey Ben, we got a recruit in town. Please come out to lunch with us." I said, "All right, no problem." So I go up there, and I think this kid was a 2 or 3 time state champ in Minnesota. Pretty tough kid, good program, right? But the dad and him are kind of knobs, like you said, right? And I'm younger. I think, like I said, I'm a freshman, sophomore, kind of same situation. And we're sitting there eating lunch, talking, and I guess Coach Smith had made them an offer earlier, and it wasn't very good. Low number. Well, the kid hadn't done anything at nationals. You know the deal. But he thought he was good. So he says point blank, I'm sitting there with Coach Smith, and they're sitting at the table and said, well, if I don't even remember the damn kid's name. He didn't do good in college. If he comes in here and beats your 174, then can you give him a full ride? And I start laughing at him because I'm the 174, and then Coach Smith starts laughing also. Is, yeah, sure, if he can beat the 174, you can have whatever you want.
I love it. That's great.
And then I don't think he came to Missouri after that. I don't remember.
I got another one, and it's a funny opposite story. But we were recruiting this guy, and I was again like a younger wrestler, but I wasn't a true freshman. I was like a little bit older than that, I think. And this guy we were recruiting was great, and everybody thought he was great, but he didn't wrestle year round, and he was very unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
He didn't like freestyle, didn't train in freestyle, but he had great wins in folk style, great folk style credentials within the traditional wrestling season.
Sure.
So Ohio State, our coaching staff, in my opinion, went out on a limb and offered him 80%.
Dang, that's a lot.
With somewhat of a gamble, because as good as he told us in the recruiting process, I don't want to wrestle year round when I get to Ohio State. like he was like saying this stuff, and
damn,
and it's like I don't want to compete year round. It's not what I do. This, that, and the other thing. And the coaches still offered him a good chunk. And there was other schools that were smaller than Ohio State, but still pretty good.
Sure.
That offered him full rides. So it came down to, hey, I want to come to Ohio State, but I want a full ride. If you can do that, I'm coming. If not, I'm going to go to these other places that are offering a full ride. Coaching staff decided not to do it. He went to a smaller school, and, at the time you're thinking, good riddance. He won't be good anyway. He's going to a smaller school, and he doesn't want to wrestle year-round. He ended up being an animal.
Oh, God. You got
a total animal.
Well, that's you can tell me who that is.
Right away.
That's a compliment. Wait, let me guess. Tell me what year he graduated college.
He graduated college. I graduated in 2004, so he had to have graduated at the latest 2007, and either 2005, 2006, or 2007. I can't really.
Here's my guess. We can say this guy's name because you said positive things about him.
Right.
Jake Percival.
That's exactly right.
Boom! He was an animal.
So, since we have his name out there, for the sake of storytelling,
yeah,
I probably sensationalized and paraphrased his verbiage about wrestling year-round by about
fine.
10 or 15%. It wasn't like, hey, I'm not going to wrestle year-round. It's like, hey, you know, we were asking, are you going to wrestle year-round? He's like, nah, that's not really what I do. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a social position that he took. It's just like, well, it's not really what I do. You know, it's kind of that type of tonality. And the dude went to OU and was a killer.
Yeah, he was. It's funny how that works out sometimes, isn't it?
And I love Jake. I mean, he's just a great guy. You know Jake personally?
I don't know him. Obviously, I watched him wrestling. I think he was 2 years older than me, so I watched him a lot. Obviously, with the match, I remember when he whooped Mike Zadek's butt.
Oh my gosh!
He was either a freshman or sophomore, right?
Yeah.
Not that it always works out, Tommy, but there is something about that in wrestling, and it's a positive and a negative. Obviously, in this case, it's a positive that kind of cowboy mentality, like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just tough as shit, and there's nothing you're going to do about it.
Right, and you just that is true. It's just hard to bet on it.
It's hard to bet on it. You're right. Yep. Because it doesn't always work out.
Right.
Okay, so let's get last thing. Let's talk. We told a lot of fun. That was some good stories. I got to ask you who the junior national champ was. That's what I got to ask.
Yeah, that's going to be off the record.
Of course, naturally. Man, I could, and I just tipped the iceberg on my stories. I could throw a lot of people under the bus. So, as a college coach, right, and we both were, so we can obviously speak from experience. But you know, some of the, and especially with the way the culture is right now in America, how much do you want to know what's going on in recruiting trips? Do you want to make sure they're staying totally legal? Do you care? Because we obviously know college is a time where kids go do stupid shit, they have fun, and you know, you hope they have some semblance of responsibility and don't act like total idiots. But you know, what do you think the coach's role in that is?
Well, I think overall, if I were a collegiate coach again, I'm not gonna have a no drinking policy on my team. I'm gonna want to know and expect that the members of my team are responsible young men that conduct themselves in a way that is a reflection on them as people and the school and program they represent. That sounds kind of recruiting, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
But the reality is that I want to know that their goals as a wrestler guide their thoughts. So
Yep.
I believe that you can have 4 or 5 beers every now and again and still authentically and truly have being an NCAA champion at the forefront of your mind.
Yeah.
But if you're looking forward to what's going on Friday and Saturday, and you're making plans to do something fun on Thursday, and your girlfriend who's in a sorority is begging you to come to this happy hour on Tuesday, and you're gravitated to that type of scene, and you can't avoid the pull from the college life, I don't think it's in the cards for you. So, but if you're like, hey, I've been training hard, and it's been 3 weeks since I've went out and hung out with my buddies till 2 a.m, and I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
I kind of want to know that those guys, in a sick and twisted way, I like the guys that think like that.
Yeah.
Because I want people that want to do what they want,
Yeah.
as long as, you know, I want them to be men.
No,
and
that's
I
a
think
good quality
that's
for
what men
wrestler
do.
to have.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I feel the same way. You know, I think, and I know Coach Smith was kind of this way, but I think, like you're saying, I want to know what that recruit's going to do without me putting too many boundaries on him. Because you're not going to get to have your finger on him the whole time while he's at college, right? He is going to make his own decisions there. So I don't want to have too many boundaries on the recruiting trip, because I want to see the type of stupid decisions he makes on his own. And I know Coach Smith, when we came in, he wouldn't say, all right, give me all the details of what this guy did, but he would ask the responsible guys, kind of like you sounded like you were, know how to say it, like, all right, should I keep recruiting him or should I not recruit him, right? And then I'd say, oh, he was freaking awesome. Yeah, we want him. Or that guy was an idiot. You want to think twice about that idiot.
Right. It's like, I think my coaches, and they probably knew this about you, I think my coaches knew, hey, Tommy's not an angel per se on paper, but he wants to freaking win, and he's a responsible young man. And if he likes the people that we're putting in front of him as recruits, then we should probably like them too. in the sense of their social life balance. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so you learn about those guys when they come into your program, and then you make them hosts. To be honest,
Yeah, no,
because you trust their opinions so much. You know, they're like secret agents for you.
Yep, I feel the same way. Hey, want a quick funny story? It's not even a recruiting story. Wrap it up, but you just made me think about something. You good with a funny story to wrap it up?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I did our general team rule was like October was when you stopped going out totally. No one went out during season, and then after season people could go out and have a good time. That was kind of generally the rule. But
right.
Dude, I was so obsessed with wrestling and getting better, and it was just kind of how I grew up, just in a no party, no all business mentality. But after my junior year of college, so I won the NCAA title, I won my Hodge, I went to the U.S. Open, and I hurt my neck, right? And it was kind of continually hurting, and I was trying to wrestle through the trials, but it was like May, and I heard it over and over again, and I literally lost all the strength in my one arm. I mean, it was just pathetic. I couldn't do a 20-pound dumbbell bench press on my left side. And so the doctors are like, listen, you have to take time off. There's no other heal for this. You just got to stop. So I stopped. My final exams were over, right? So I got nothing to do, Tommy. I can't wrestle. I can't lift. I can't do school. I can't do nothing. It's May, right? So I'm like, well, it's Wednesday night or Thursday night. I guess I'm going out. There's nothing else to do. So, Tommy, for the first time in my college career, I go out on a weekday. So this is my first year in college. I've never been out on a weekday, but never been out on anything but a Friday or a Saturday. So it was like a Wednesday or Thursday. I go out, and Tommy, I couldn't believe all the people out on a Wednesday or Thursday. And I'm thinking, like, what are they doing? Like, it's like a Wednesday. Why are all these people out? And I couldn't believe it.
Crazy.
That was kind of like, it took me 4 years to figure this out in college, that college kids just party all the time, nonstop. Like, I was just like, it blew my mind. Like,
it is amazing because you went to a big school. I went to a big school.
Yeah.
And there's something to do 7 nights a week. You know, the one thing that bothers me about college parties, social life in college, is that because you and I trained hard, and I trained hard, and I woke up early in the morning to work out, probably minimum 4 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. I'd wake up in the morning to work out. So my sleep schedule was very, very regimented. 11 p, like 10 p or 11 p to 6 a.m. every night. So when I decided to go out on a Friday or Saturday every now and again, when my friends would when they would commence socializing or, having a couple drinks at like 11 p.m., I was beside myself. I was like, why is this the way that the college life goes? Why can't we begin the same thing that everybody wants to do at 7 p.m.? It's always blown my mind. It's always blown my mind.
I would venture to guess, Tommy, that's because the most social people are the idiots who are slackers, and they sleep in till noon every day.
Yeah, it's always blew my mind. I can't believe we're starting this at 11. I want to do this. I want to hang out. It's always got to me.
I agree. Okay, last funny thing, because you mentioned it. I'm having fun on this. We could talk for a while. There was one guy on my team. You said like having a beer every once in a while. So the rule on Missouri was no drinking during the season, right? That was the rule, and we all pretty much everybody stuck to it. I mean, especially my time, I really can't think of when it was violated.
Same here. When I was at Ohio State, we had the same type of. It wasn't a rule, but it was like unsaid, and nobody did anything, with the exception of New Year's Eve. People would let their hair down, and I'm not talking about wildness. I'm just saying like a token drink or two, and that was it.
Sure, but we had this one guy. This is how I'll wrap it up with. It's kind of a stupid way to wrap it up, but we had this one guy. He was so indignant about his right to have a beer with dinner. And obviously he was 21, he was older than me. But he was always like, yeah, I'm going to have a beer for dinner. I don't care for the season. I just want a beer with dinner. Just one. He wouldn't drink more. But when he was having dinner, he'd have one beer every time. And he thought it was his right. I'm just having a beer with dinner, guys.
Ridiculous.
I'm 22. Why can't I have a beer with dinner? And we'd be like, you are such an idiot. Like, why do you need a beer? He's like, I'm 22. I can have a beer with my dinner, damn it.
Such a moron.
And he might listen to this. He might shoot me a text and say you're an a-hole. But it was like
I gotta find out who that is.
It was
Hey,
an all the
how
time
about
thing.
this?
What?
Was he an NCAA All-American?
He was good. I want to say he was rounded 12th twice.
Got it.
So,
Okay, so he was legit.
he was pretty good. Big 12 champ. So I might have narrowed it down too much there, but he was having a damn beer with his dinner. Not multiple, just one, just because he was 22 and he could.
That's awesome.
So, all right, Tommy,
All right,
I'm
man,
headed
let's
to
wrap it
Fargo
up there. I gotta
tomorrow.
head over to another session with father-son camp.
All right, man. You guys have a great day. Teach that kid some moves.
All right, buddy. See ya.
All right, see ya.
You are listening to the T-Row and Funky Show, brought to you by Defend Soap. Defend what you have built.